The following teacher development program is brought to you by the MultiChoice Africa Foundation.
Sorry, it's Gina. She doesn't know she's not supposed to SMS me here.
Gina? Kukhona?
Look who's talking. Yeah, when I saw you causing with that new teacher, what is his name? Albert.
I don't cozy up to anyone. He was just telling me about the cell phone contracts. I need one since my son Nelson's in the US.
Well, yes. Prepaid cards won't take you very far. But yesterday I picked up lots of brochures. If you want, I can bring them to you.
But you have a brand new contract.
No, it's for Gina.
Come on! Jeez, this is going to be harder than I thought.
Yeah, it's columns and columns of information. I don't know how do they expect us to compare their rates.
I know what will help me.
What?
Can you keep your phone off long enough?
What phone?
All this information has to have one common format, so we'll use a grid.
All right. What do you call this thing?
It's a pie chart, but it won't be relevant in this instance.
Why not?
Well, each slice of the pie represents data, which when put together makes a whole. It adds up to 100%.
Oh, say like all the books in the library. If we want to see how many books are in it on maths versus history versus science, etc., then a pie chart would be great.
Well, we're comparing different data from different sources on the grid, which when put together don't make a whole. Basically, I'm trying to plot monthly costs versus the airtime that I use. And I think for that, a line graph would be perfect. Let me show you. Look, this makes it easy to compare and make sense of all the data. Once all the free time's been used up, the cost will increase according to the charge per minute rate after that.
Okay, so these graphs don't start at zero because of the monthly subscription. Yeah, but tell me about these flat bits. What's happening?
Well, those are your free calls, and the graph doesn't go up because you're not being charged.
Let me see. You get 100 free minutes with Cell C and with Vodacom. And Cell C has the cheapest entry-level contract at 245, you see?
Right.
Right. But then, after 100 minutes, your call costs rise quite sharply. It even crosses MTN at about 120 minutes.
Right. See, although MTN has the highest monthly subscription rate, it's lower than the other two, and besides, they give you 120 free minutes.
So if you're going to talk for less than 100 minutes in a month, then you should consider Cell C because it's very cheap, it's the best bet contract. Makes me think of changing my contract.
I doubt he's calling Cell C.
We spoke to a senior manager at Cell C to see how he uses graphs.
I do a lot of calculations on an ongoing basis. Some of those calculations are things that I actually have to commit on paper and use that in either to show a graph or a table of some sort, create a specific calculation. A lot of what we do is present information to the business, and in order to present business you have to have a real understanding of how to present pictures to people, that various types of graphs, and a lot of the time information can be hidden away until you find the right way to actually depict that information, and then it tells an absolute picture or an absolute story to somebody who you're presenting to.
That 29% of the guys in value band 1 fall into the 35 to 49 age group.
If I look at information that we measure on a monthly basis and we track certain variables like advertising awareness as an example, then it's nice to be able to use line graphs showing colours for the various network operators. And an example of that might be something like this, where we'll use a line graph to show a relationship. In other instances, when we're trying to just analyze something very specific and look at a comparison, we might just use normal, a standard bar graph that will look like that, where we do a comparison across categories. Where we're looking at total share, it's always nice to use a pie to show the relationship of a whole, and what our portion of a whole is. That's a good example of where we look at the relationship of usage with pricing or charges, and that's where we'd make use of a very defined line graph. I think that if you were able to draw graphs, you'd probably be able to have a much better understanding of how different packages work, or how the tariffs work. If I just take prepaid as an example, typically there are three options for that. The one is a pure per second tariff, the other one is typically a flat rate or some variation of that, and the other one is more of a standard peak and off-peak rate. And if you understood how much you normally spend or use in the week or off-peak on the weekend, it would give you a much better way of calculating what's the best way to actually use tariffs.
Tristão encourages all cell phone users to get mathematically literate.
I think that maths literacy as a subject is probably going to be very beneficial, because to make decisions a lot of the times, simple things that sometimes we take for granted involves having a very sound understanding of how numbers work and how relationships between numbers work. An example is doubling a recipe. What are the implications of that? Understanding how money works and how how to get value out of different packages. So I think for people to have numeracy is a very vital. It's a vital thing in society.
Oh man, another one bites the dust.
Hey,
I
I think I've made a decision. I've compared all three companies' peak and off-peak rates as well.
So, what do you call this chart?
It's a bar graph. It makes comparison very easy. Specifically good to compare fixed costs. The line graph we did showed us change. Well, in our case, how costs change over time.
Let's see, the other one is this line graph. Let's see. It shows us how costs change every minute we are on the phone overseas.
Look how steep the rate of change is. I don't know if I can afford that. Well, Cell C keeps on coming out cheapest.
Tell me, when did he do all this?
Last night with Shadrach.
Shadrach? Oh, your neighbor's son?
Yeah, that one. He's studying how to handle data, something like that. So, what were you reading here?
This thing.
Irma Kun is teaching a maths literacy lesson on choosing a cell phone prepaid card. The first thing she does is hand out a lot of pamphlets to the boys. They have to find the pamphlets relating to prepaid cards. Although finding information is not directly related to maths calculations, to be maths literate also means being able to find the relevant information you need to do your calculations. Irma points out how you can tell if you're looking at a contract package as opposed to a prepaid one.
And can you tell us from that pamphlet whether it's contract or prepaid?
Contract.
How do you know that it is a contract?
Monthly charge.
The monthly charge. So then it should be contract.
The learners compare the costs for different prepaid packages. They notice that some are charged per second, while some are charged per minute. There are many other differences.
The difference between the pay-as-you-go call per second and the pay-as-you-go call back, payback, is that with the payback, the longer you talk, the cheaper it gets.
Okay.
And with the pay-as-you-go, the longer you talk, it still gets more expensive. So it counts frequently on this one and gets cheaper the longer when you talk on this one.
The MTN pay-as-you-go per second was more expensive.
And the other one, the pay-as-you-go classic, what is the cost there?
$2.60.
Each learner chooses a specific prepaid package. Irma gives them a worksheet that will help them calculate the cost for various lengths of calls.
On the worksheet, you'll see the three tables. We're going to use the different options, and we're going to use the cell phone to Telkom, the rates. Minutes, those that's per second, you're going to work it times 60. It's 60 seconds in a minute. And the cost will be in rand. Okay, I'm sure you all found the first one out. Say, for instance, this is Vodacom Standard. It's R2.85. Now, how do we get for 2 minutes? We times by 2. So it will be R5.70. Who's doing Vodacom Smart Step? Okay, what is the cost?
For 1 minute, ma'am, it's
R2. R2.70. And now for 2 minutes, what's happening?
times by 2, ma'am.
Okay, now that's not right. Let's hear from somebody else.
You don't times, you plus it by R1.55.
Okay.
Irma wants them to draw line graphs of the cost of peak and off-peak calls. She wants them to compare their graphs afterwards. This means that all the graphs must be to the same scale. To ensure this, Irma gets the learners to copy out a scale she has drawn on the board.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 minutes. So right there, minutes. Then on the y-axis, that's the cost. And it will be in rand.
To make sure that the learners measure accurately on the graph, Irma also points out what each of the small blocks on the graphs count as.
At the bottom, there you've numbered 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Now, what is one line? Or how will we number the others in between? What will it be? Seconds or what? Just have a look at it and tell me.
Each block is 10 seconds, ma'am, and there's 10 blocks in here.
Okay, each block is 10 seconds.
No, it's 6 seconds.
It's 6
Each
seconds.
block is 6 seconds.
5 small blocks is a minute. Now we're going to do the y-axis. That's 5 rand. Now I want to know, where will 1 rand be?
2 blocks is 1 rand.
So 1 little block is now 50 cents. And we need 2.85. So you go up to your 2 rand. And then it will be between 2 rand, and then on the next line, that's 2.50, so it will be between that line and the 3 rand, where you're going to make your dot.
Now the learners plot their points. Most of the graphs are straight-line graphs, except for the graph for the package where the cost goes down after the second minute.
Okay, the Vodafone Smart Step. You will see the angle change. It's not a straight line. It will go like this, and then it changes. Then it will be a straight line. Why will the angle change of the Vodafone Smart Step?
It's because of the R1.55.
Because of the R1.55. Because the first minute is R2.70, and then after that it's R1.55. So it's a change in cost. That's why it's not a straight line.
The learners are now able to compare their graphs and make an informed decision on which package they would choose.
You must first of all decide whether you're going to phone more in peak hours or off-peak hours or SMS more. And then when you compare it, then you can decide which one will be the best for you.
I'm going to choose the MTN and the MTN peak hours because the off-peak, they're more expensive than the Vodacom off-peak. And the Vodacom peak hours are more expensive than the MTN peak hours. So I'd rather choose that.
I'm picking Cell C because it's cheaper on peak time than Vodacom on peak time.
All right.
And then I'm picking Cell C. On off-peak, it's less than Vodacom on off-peak.
MTN pay-as-you-go call per second is much more expensive than Vodacom Smart Step. I'm gonna use Vodacom at night, off-peak, and to make a lot of calls because it's much cheaper than MTN.
At the end, each one will have a graph, and then when they compare it, they can decide for themselves which package is the best suitable for them. So there's not a right and a wrong one. It will be different for each learner and for each one's needs that they're going to use it for.
Irma shows the learners that to be completely accurate, if you are charged per minute, your graph should go up in steps, because even if you only phone for 6.5 minutes, you will be charged for 7.
If you phone for 1 minute, then you read off the amount that you're going to pay for 1 minute. And it will be the same if it's less than 1 minute, but one of the packages is per billing per second as from the first second. If you phone for 1.5 minutes, if it's per minute, then you'll pay for 2 minutes. If it's per second billing, then it will be different. So you can read it off. If it's per minutes, then you take 2 minutes, and you'll see what the cost is. 2 minutes will be R5.70.
The lesson has captivated a usually restless group of boys for more than an hour. By choosing cell phones as a context, Irma has ensured a topic close to their hearts, making it easy to teach them about analyzing data and drawing graphs.
A few of you have got cell phones, and I'm sure you got cell phone cards. But now I'm sure you can use all the pamphlets, and you can use maths to compare which phone card would be the most suitable for your needs.
After the lesson today, I'm willing to change my SIM card to buy another one because I can see that I'm spending a lot of money, and I can use that money to buy something else. So I'm going to change my SIM card.
Well, it was nice for me because like I got to see MTN rates, Cell C rates, and the other rates, so that I could see which one is cheaper for me as a student. Because as you know, I have no job and I'm broke like most of the time. So today I learned like if I want to save more, which one must I use, like MTN or SLC. So it really helped me a lot.
These graphs are great, don't you think? They make you see things clearly. And the line graphs, they're definitely the best to show functional relationships.
Which is something I don't have.
What? Functional relationship? What happened to Gina?
Maybe it's Gina.
The more things change,